racing my veins. I've been driving this train years in this lane.
G'day, I'm Dimmy, also known as Dimmy Powerlift, also known as the guy that's going to humble Sawnami, and this is, I believe, take one.
Feeling lost, feeling great, popping straight, never stop, never change.
Alright.
And I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day. I get lost in words to say.
Who's Saw?
Push pause, no, I push play.
Can I look him up real quick? Let's have a look. So, Sawnami, right?
I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say.
What's your name and who are you?
My name is Dimitri Powerlift, whatever the hell you want to call me. And I am a under 83 kilo junior powerlifter.
What got you into powerlifting?
Well, that's the question. I think when I finished school, I'd been rowing at school in year 10, 11, 12. And it was, I loved that sport, right? It really meant a lot to me. But my last year of it wasn't so good. I remember I was in year 12 and, you know, I had for years dreamed up making it to the first 8 at school, which was the highest crew. And I didn't make it. In fact, I did worse than year 11. I remember I went from second in year 11 to third in year 12. Anyway, this is ancient history. However, when I finished school, I had this feeling within me that, like, there I was, age 19, and or 18, whatever I was, and a lot of my friends had reached great heights in their sports. You know, they'd gone to represent Australia in rowing, or I knew friends that went and did wrestling like that, and or cross country and things like that, and I hadn't done that. I was a bit of a fat little wog boy growing up too, so I didn't have much success then either. So I was really like, you know, I just want to be good at a sport for once. I want to get into something I enjoy and have talent at it. So I started going to the gym, and I was enjoying it. Snap fitness, casual environment, you know, classic early gym shenanigans. But then suddenly you start to get those first pumps, and you're like, wow, look at this, man. Like, my biceps are growing, you know, we're building a physique here. It's kind of, this is really enjoyable. And then I kept doing that, and then I slowly started to really enjoy the strength side of it too, like starting to rep out more reps of squats at 100 and whatever. Those first times you start to like improve in the gym at that level. It was very exciting. And then one day I met this lady in the gym who mysteriously, after I met her that day, never saw her again. It was like some kind of heaven sent thing from above. She said, I know a place called Strength Club where they do powerlifting, and they're just opening up, and I think you would enjoy it. I said, Strength Club, all right, we'll go try it out. And I remember I walked into this gym and you were there, and this place was not much then. It was just, you know, it was a couple of Alico racks, and to me I was like, what the heck, look at this thing, you can change your rack height, this is crazy, right? And but I was like, this is cool, this is a proper training environment. This isn't, you know, your mum and dad and teenage Gen Z snap fitness where everyone's on the treadmill and doing 10 sets of curls. This is a powerlifting gym. And I think from that moment I was in love. And, you know, my first few years, I've been with you now for what, three years. It's been a very character developing sport. You know, I've learned a lot about myself in doing it. And it's funny, you start out and you're no good, right? And you sort of look at the best in the world, you know, your Sean Noriegas, your Taylor Atwoods, you know, at the time. Never forget watching my first American meet, and they were like, Sean Noriega in like the Texas meet, and I was like, who the hell is Sean Noriega and why are they hyping him up? Anyway, I was like, there's no way I'll get close to those guys. But I just kept going, kept having a go at the sport, kept doing meets, kept building the total, and I've just fallen more in love with it over the years, and here we are today going to the Night of Champs and on to our next endeavor. So that's a recap, I guess. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but that's what got me into powerlifting.
You've been in it for a minute now. What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were first doing it? What's advice you give yourself?
I think I would have benefited early on from finding the right balance between taking the sport seriously and not too seriously. I think that with powerlifting in particular, but with any sport, you have to remember first and foremost, you're doing this for fun. Like, it's fun. I don't get paid to do this, maybe one day, right? But, I don't get paid to powerlift. It's not a career. It's a hobby that I enjoy. However, at the same time, if you go too much into that mindset, you'll just, you won't train hard. You won't commit to a good diet. You won't commit to the things that make you a better athlete. So I think early on, I almost took it too seriously, got too upset when meets didn't go my way, got too upset when I wasn't at the level of strength I wanted to be at. And I probably would have enjoyed and done better in those earlier years if I had just sort of found that balancing point that I think I found now, which is to take it seriously enough to train hard and everything else, but not take it too seriously that you get worked up when things don't go your way or whatever else. It's a balancing act.
What are your interests outside of it?
Outside of lifting? Not much. Nah, just kidding. Nah, well, I don't mind my job. I work for a senator, so this weekend I'm going to Canberra and stuff, and I actually enjoy that. I enjoy the work I do a lot of the time. So that's, I don't know, it's quite a hobby, but I do that. As many know, part of my identity as Dimmy Powerlift is being a sort of an ortho bro type lifter. And I go to my church on a Sunday and I sing in the choir there, which I quite enjoy. You see, I'm like an onion, right? You peel back the layers and you're like, there's more to this guy than you'd think. And, aside from that, I like my downtime to play a bit of video games. I've been playing Fallout lately, which I enjoy a lot to wind down. I enjoy my studies. I'm not studying at the moment, but I enjoy reading about international relations and that sort of thing. And just hanging out with the guys whenever I get a chance, and just, having a good time and being young, which you always reminded me to do, which is a good thing, right? Can't take life too seriously. So, just doing whatever, hanging with the guys and that sort of thing.
What's your most memorable moment in powerlifting so far?
There's been a lot. And there have been a lot that have meant a lot to me. And I think probably the most memorable moment would have been, it was around, I think it might have been SummerSlam. I think that was the first meet I went 9 for 9. And the day went perfect. It's funny, you look back at the numbers now, you're like, those are terrible numbers, but I was very happy with them at the time. And the day went perfectly. But on a personal level, just before that, I had recently lost my grandfather. And, he meant a lot to me. He was like a very important father figure in my life. I've got a father, of course, but, I only had one set of grandparents here. And that was very difficult at the time to deal with. It caused me to think a lot about life and death and many different things. And I remember on the day, on the platform for the last deadlift, I think it was 240. Which, I remember you were sort of like, I don't know if he's, all right, we'll let it. Fair enough. It was a risky gambit on the day. And I started playing Frank Sinatra's My Way in my headphones, which reminds me of my grandfather a lot. And the magical moment right before I go on the platform with Frankie serenading me in my ears at max volume and the crowd cheering me on and me asking my grandfather to give me a hand, and then hitting it, which was a number I hadn't even come close to in the gym. It was a very nice moment. And since then, I tend to go out on my thirds with My Way by Frank Sinatra. And I think it makes comps a much more sort of spiritual experience. On the day, I might be competing by myself, but I know I've got people in heaven and elsewhere helping me, giving me a helping hand. So that was a special moment for me. Yeah.
You've mentioned your granddad. Why don't you mention who is your greatest role model and why?
Greatest role model. I'm quite lucky to have a lot of great role models in my life. I love my parents. I love my mom and my dad and my grandmother and people like yourself, people in the gym who I look up to, even the people I compete against. They're all great role models to me. To tell you the honest truth, probably the greatest role model in my life, which I know is probably a unconventional answer, is actually a monk that I know from Perth, who has guided me a lot in my life and helped me in steering my life in the right way to make good decisions. He's an abbot, actually. But he's taught me a lot about putting things in perspective in life. I mean, you think of a monastic person of any religion, really, where they withdraw from the world and live a life that is totally in a different plane to anyone else. He's taught me a lot about putting things in perspective and remembering what matters. You know, remembering that you only have one life, and you got to live it, and you got to live it in a way that leads to you being happy and satisfied and at peace with yourself. So the example he set for me is probably the number one role model in my life. But like I said, I've got many that have taught me different things. You know, it's like I have a role model for every aspect of my life in different things that I do.
Talk to me about receiving the invite for Night of Champions and what that means to you.
Oh, well, we'll get back to the glasses mode. Well, you know, I've been doing the sport for a while. And as I said earlier, the intention from the beginning has been to get into a sport and succeed at it and get to a higher level and reach that point where it's like, you know, to go to Worlds, to go to Commonwealth or something like that and be like, I've made it towards the top of this sport, which I haven't really done yet in any sport. I'm still pushing to attain that level where it's like, yeah, I'm really amongst the best. And to me, this has been like a major step in that direction. You know, I'm competing alongside people with very high GL points, with very talented athletes across a variety of weight classes. And it's humbling. It's a chance for me to prove to myself and prove to others that I'm capable of contending with those people. So for me, it's been a bit of a watershed moment to identify and feel more confident in myself as actually someone who's good at the sport, you know, and not just a lifetime intermediate.
What about when you're talking about the sacrifices you've had to make to be a good athlete? What are those?
Yeah, there's a lot. Powerlifting is a fairly demanding sport. You know, it's flexible in the sense that all that's required out of you is to fit your training sessions in whatever capacity you can, and then recover. Get enough sleep, eat a proper diet, don't be an idiot, that sort of thing. But you know, I've had to, you know, say no to, you know, certain other things I could be doing in my life because I've got to prioritize training, which I'm happy to do, but sacrificing, you know, time spent with other people and things like that, going to the gym. I think it requires, you know, for me at least, a certain lifestyle which I'm happy to live, which is, you know, a regimented diet. I personally don't drink for many reasons, but part of the reason is to succeed well in powerlifting. In fact, that was the main reason that I just decided out of school when I started powerlifting. I remember I got very nerdy into the different things that benefit you to recover well from weight training, and obviously no alcohol is ideal. So I decided, what the heck, we'll do it. It's not a huge sacrifice to me, but it's a lifestyle choice, you know, that's a requisite for the sport for me. Apart from that, you know, I get a bit of flack from people here and there for doing this. You know, it's not, you know, like, it's not something that goes in your CV or whatever like that, you know, so it takes a bit of convincing of people around me sometimes that, you know, that it's a worthwhile sport for me to do. But apart from that, really, powerlifting hasn't been about sacrifice for me as much as I've looked at it as probably one of the most satisfying things in my life. You know, I'm 22, you know, I've got work, I might have more study in the future, I've got many responsibilities and things. Powerlifting is an endeavor for me that is difficult. It requires effort, it requires sacrifices. However, it's so rewarding and so satisfying when you get the payout for those. So I don't see it really as a burden as much as probably one of the greatest compliments to my life.
That's cool. So it clearly requires you to have a good work ethic, to have regimen, all that kind of stuff. Where do you think you've gained those skills from?
Well, rowing was very tough in school. I still think about it a lot. And I think about it in a way where actually it makes powerlifting seem kind of easy. You know, we had like 5 a.m. starts all the time and like intense cardio training, whereas weight training it requires a different sort of effort, but it's certainly not, I think, as, you know, mentally taxing over a prolonged period. You know, powerlifting is basically a sport of focusing in a moment when it comes to meet day to perform your lifts, and a lot of good habits in your training and consistency. And yes, it requires effort, but the discipline I learned for rowing has helped a lot. And I think also for me, I've been inspired by various people in my life that exhibited tough work ethics. My grandfather was a very hard worker. People in my family are hard workers in different things, but you can apply that to the sport. I would always been around friends who are people who do. I'm blessed to have friends who I look up to. They balance a lot. A lot of them are professional athletes or semi-professional athletes, and they also work in businesses and things like that. So I see a lot of people around me that are doing it. I'm like, well, I can do it too. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Rocky Balboa, probably one of the greatest influences in my life, who he when I first watched the Rocky movies, I decided I want to be like that guy. And whenever I hear the soundtrack, I feel like that guy, and that's how I feel when I train sometimes too.
Let's go on a personal note. You're getting ready for probably the biggest battle you've had so far. What do you think your granddad would tell you?
Well, it's sad because he never saw me compete. Never got the chance for him to watch me compete before he passed on. But I know he loved sport. He was a massive sport fanatic. He watched boxing, footy, cricket. He loved every event in the Olympics. He just loved all sport. So I know he would have loved me doing this. And I think he would just, a few things. He always told me in my life, be good. Simple words. I'd say goodbye to him at his house and be like, be good. Those two words mean a lot. It's all encompassing, So he wouldn't want me to be a prick and, be arrogant on the day or anything like that, And, I have a bit of a, a bantery style, but, I've got to be careful not to get too up myself. And he'd want me to work hard. He'd want me to stay focused. And I think he'd want me to believe in myself on the day and believe that I have the capacity to do what I can with God's help. That's what he would tell me, I think.
So what makes you a champion?
What makes me a champion? Well, first of all, I think that most champions don't self-identify as one. Others call them one. And they wouldn't, some might, right? Me personally, my style, I'd rather earn the title from others than proclaim it. That said, it's something you have to strive for, right? So I would say that my formula that works for me is when I lift, it is not just a physical experience for me. I find it deeply spiritual. When I prepare for a meet, when I'm training, for me, I'm trying whenever I can to pray and to feel as though I'm calling upon God's help when I lift. And that's very important to me, and that helps with my mentality. In fact, it's inseparable from how I go about thinking about powerlifting generally. I see it as just one of many endeavors in my life where I could not succeed without God's help. And then apart from that, I'm a healthy degree of boring. I'm not crazy on going out too much. Like I said, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I drink a lot of water. I eat a very healthy diet. I try to get my sleep when I'm not spending all night playing, Fallout. And, I have a lifestyle that is very accommodating to the sport. Very rarely do I find that my externalities, save for work really, interfere with my sport. And even then, work doesn't really interfere. When I go to Canberra next week, it'll be long hours and all that, but I always have time to fit a session in. There's no reason why I can't just meal prep on a Sunday night and bring it into Parliament House. So it's all manageable. So I think I just have a certain lifestyle and way of being that is very complementary to what leads to success in powerlifting.
So talk about the battle.
The battle.
What does this battle with Saw mean to you, this rivalry? What's going to go down? What's the game plan? Talk.
Saw? Who's Saw? Can I look him up real quick? Let's just have a look. So Sawnami, right? Let's have a look. Seems more like a splashed out of a kiddie pool than a tsunami. But yeah, well, look, Saw, great guy. He's been around for a while. He's been with you longer than I have, and I've been around since prehistoric times. he's a very talented athlete. He's been going at this for a while. He knows the sport well, and he's dedicated to it. And all jokes aside, I have a lot of respect for him as an athlete, and I know it's not going to be any walk in the park. You know, I've got no illusions that I'm going to walk in there and clean up. However, I am very confident going into this meet. You never know what the result is going to be on the day, and you never know how things pan out, but I probably haven't felt this good about the state of my powerlifting probably since we started. You know, every lift is going well. Deadlifts have been clicking. Bench has been going very well. Squats have been going very well. Everything has just been, thank God, progressing well. I feel like I really understand how to have a good game day psychology now, apart from the million questions I'll ask you inevitably. It's my nervous reaction. But apart from that, you know, I'm feeling pretty confident for the day. Yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup for sure, but I have faith that things will go as well as they possibly can on my end.
Do you have a strategy in place?
Strategy. Well, as you know, I'm kind of a bit of an idiot. So, you know, like I do like to bounce off you for strategy, you know, because if I had picked my own strategy, it would be opening at 180 bench and, you know, that sort of thing. But no, well, jokes, look, strategy. I think that it's pretty clear that I'm the favorite on bench. And so it's very important that I execute that as best I can, because that's where my subtotal can get ahead of his. So it's really important that I keep training hard at bench, keep pushing to get new gym PBs so that on the day we can pull something up that'll make the crowd excited, you know, one of those beautiful mythical numbers like 180 or 175, you know, there's 3 reds in the collar, or like a, you know, 180, 405 type bench, you know. So that's very important. I think that I'm pretty much matched with him on squat at the moment, which is great too. But what these close matchups mean is that on the day, I need to really lock in on my technique and make sure I do not miss any lifts on technicalities. You know, one missed lift on a second or third attempt with, you know, depth or jumping a command or something could be catastrophic on the day. So one of my key priorities is going to be make sure that I am doing my top sets and everything else for that matter with technical proficiency, so that on the day, we don't have any results like that, and we can actually, you know, demonstrate the strength I've gained in the gym without losing out because of technical mishaps.
What's the future? You're talking about now you're United Champions, and you've been at Nationals twice, so you can mention that as well. But you've gone United Champions. What's the future goals for Dimmy with powerlifting after that?
I have one major goal, and that is to make it to Worlds. That's been my dream since we first started. That's been my dream basically since before I even knew what powerlifting was, which is to make it to an international level competition and represent my country. And that is the number one goal for me. Whether it's bench worlds, whether it's open 3-lift IPF worlds, whatever it is, that is my number one goal. And, you know, honestly, if I could make it to a worlds, I would almost be at that point thinking, well, I've done a great job and I could think about, you know, other things in my life. But to tell you the truth, I reckon that going to Worlds would be like a seminal moment that would make me think, all right, it's time to become a world-class athlete now and battle it out and try to get world titles, you know. And you look at people like Taylor Atwood and others who balance so many things in their life, being a father, working in 9-to-5, you know, corporate environment, and still win world championships. It's very doable. So I am hoping that I can stay in the sport as long as I possibly can, make it to Worlds, and build a kind of sort of story in that at that level.
The old story of you can win it once, but can you back it up more times?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else you want to do there?
No, I think you're good.
I think you're good. Anything else you want to say?
Anything else I want to say? Can I speak to the camera?
Perfect.
This is directed to so-called Tsunami, right? Or as I say, tiny Tsunami, because it's like a little splash. Best of luck to you on the day. You know, it's going to be a tough fight, but I just hope you're ready to change your name to something like, you know, Sauropoulos or something like that, because this Greek freak is going to be, you know, colonizing your heritage. That's That's all.